Hello, family. Welcome back to Dark Woke, your direct link to all things politics, comedy, and culture. I am your host, Janaya Future Khan, champ yapper and frequent nuisance in the activist and comedy worlds. Let's get dialed in. Just before we jump, Dark Woke is a self-funded, self-produced show. We're on Patreon/Dark Woke. I am so grateful for all the support and for you just taking the time to listen. I don't like when we go 3 days without talking. It upsets me. And, President's Day for that raggedy bitch, I don't think so. No. But I did use that time to get some of my shit together. Not all of it, okay? Not possible, but some of it. We have got a really great and fun episode. I'm going to ease us into this shitstorm that is this political economy. And I put together this kind of spread on how to win the Yap Wars because we're dealing with a lot of different message boxes right now. And I'm like, this is a really good moment to clarify. I also took some time to clarify because I wasn't showing up exactly the way that I wanted to. And I've been struggling with why. So we're going to get into that in the episode. But before we do jump, I did want to do some quick hits because what would life be without them? What would life be if J.K. Rowling didn't just get a whiff that somebody had said something about trans women? And what would life be if she didn't, upon getting that whiff, that tingle in the back of her brain, like Peter Parker's spider sense, if she didn't crawl out from the porch, right? From under the porch that she sleeps under, right? She just came out. So what was it that stirred J.K. Rowling this time? David Tennant, right? David Tennant, he's a British actor and he received an award. So David Tennant receives an award for allyship in the community, right? The British LGBT Awards. And he said something that she found terribly offensive. So, being the nosy little person that I am, I was like, what is it? What was this terribly offensive thing that David Tennant said? So, during his acceptance speech, Tennant said that, quote, he was a little depressed, and then goes on to say he was a little depressed about being awarded for believing that everyone has the right to be who they want to be and to live their life how they want to live it as long as they're not hurting anyone else. So what he's saying is, this is such a basic thing that I'm a little bit depressed that the bar is so low, right? And it's a wonderful, generous thing, very tepid, very, very tepid, right? Very sweet. Her response to this very tepid, sweet, remarks, right? These remarks was, they're very warm, was that David Tennant is part of the gender Taliban. That is the only good thing that J.K. Rowling has written since her subsequently worsening Harry Potter series as time went on. This is hilarious. And if she had any sense, she would just stop, she's just lobbing us these wins. Gender Taliban, that's me from here on in, bitch. I'm ready to go. The gender Taliban, that's hilarious. Oh, she hasn't written anything good in years. And she doesn't even know it. That's the thing. That's the thing when your brain starts shrinking because you're a simple bitch. Okay. And a little inspiration, make your shit. Remember, we are not just here to consume content, right? We're not just here to have our minds and how we think being curated by these algorithms that are far more sophisticated than any of us know. We are here. We are artists, we are advocates, we are educators, we are thinkers, we are creators, we are poets, we are writers, we are painters, whatever it is, we're musicians. And I don't care. You just got to find a way to do a little bit of what makes you feel alive every day. Just a bit. And I'm going to tell you why, because in my internet sleuthing, and you know that I love news and internet sleuthing, it's what I do. I came across something, right? It's called The Girl with the Instagram. That is the title. It was made in 2019. And the log line for this film is, what if a girl in the Holocaust had Instagram? People will literally fucking make anything. How dare you take yourself out of the running? How fucking dare you? When somebody wrote this, and I wrote out all these jokes, but then I realized I didn't need to, because we don't need to wonder about what it would have looked like if fucking, this is what they said, a 13-year-old Jewish girl, right? I mean, I guess it's a riff off of Anne Frank. We don't need to wonder what she would have done on Instagram. We have Palestine. We have fucking Palestine, right? So yeah, that irritated the shit out of me when I realized that, because at first I was like, this is so stupid. And then I was just like, why, why do this when you could literally do that? Okay. Anyway, make your shit, because dummies are out here making whatever they want. Podcast bros are yapping about things they know nothing about. Make your shit. I believe in you. I believe in us. This is the time. This is where we need our artistry the most, our critical thinking the most. That's really what we're getting into. But this, I couldn't resist this. I've already kind of posted this as it stands, but my God, I could not pass up on this. I am too weak. I did come across an article in the New York Times, of all places, right? It's in the New York Times Magazine. It's a little more raunchy. And it's a question was asked, and this is on a newsletter called The Ethicist. And the person this is the question. This is literally the title of the article. You can find this right here. As a white man, can I date women of color to advance my anti-racism? Nigga, no. You stupid bitch. No. Oh my fucking God. Okay, wait. Okay. Let's get into this just a little bit, because this is a good time. This is a really good time. So this is a straight white dude who recently came out of college, and he's like, I've got very progressive beliefs, right? I've got very progressive beliefs. Hilarious. And he's looking for a committed partner who can equitably raise a family with him. So he's like, I've got zero honest to goodness physical preferences, right? I've dated women of all various shapes and sizes. Well, actually, right? Various skin, hair, color. Well, actually, you just contradicted yourself, because you do have physical preferences. You want a woman of color, simple bitch. Can you just, what's happening in college? What is happening in college? So this is I highlighted some of the best parts. So it goes, here's what's controversial among my friends, right? I want to prioritize dating women of color. I'm after a cross-cultural relationship. I believe strongly that one of the main ways to combat racism is through relationship. That right there, that line, solid line. That is 100% true. But nobody said that it's through fucking people in those relationships. That's not actually how you do social justice. That's how you do OnlyFans, my nigga. That's how we do that. But anyway, part of me thinks, this is what he goes on to say, part of me thinks that I will always be somewhat disappointed if what ends up becoming one of the most important relationships in my life is with another white person. Just say you don't want to be boring. Just say, I don't want to be boring. I see Becky and John, and I don't want to be like them. I'm different. I'm cardstock, okay? I'm not this white paper recycled shit. And I want to use an entire human being to as my Hawaiian shirt. I want everybody to know that I'm on my Ed Hardy shit. I'm moving different. She's my calling card for how. Can we just be honest about what this is? Right? This is what he says right after that. If someone is a woman of color, that checks a box for me in a real way. I am seeking to be anti-racist in all my relationships. Oh my fucking God. Now, just when I'm like, ooh, I have so much to say, he goes on. This is honestly, this belongs in 30 Rock. But anyway, part of the reason that I want to prioritize it is to combat implicit bias. Having grown up in a fairly white, quasi-rural place, I am dedicated to educating myself on issues of racism, sexism, and other forms of hierarchy, while also learning from marginalized people. Okay. All of this is, you got your shit ass backwards, my boy, right? Now, this is good though. It's still an educational moment, as hilarious as this is. You should have this work that you want to do. Noble, right? You should already be doing it before you ever invite anybody into your life. And Also, have you tried being normal? Have you tried being normal? Like, oh, she's hot and she's smart and I really enjoy spending time with her. Have you fucking tried just being a normal human being, meeting people in normal ways? Have you tried that? The other thing is, romantic relationships generally, right, bring out the absolute worst aspects of ourselves, right? They activate something deep within us. And, I find when I'm listening to stories of friends and when I'm in relationships myself, which I mean, these days I've just gone feral at this point, but, you've got to really be on your shit because they activate you in ways that other relationships, I think, don't, right? I have really built my friendships up. So now they're all driving me nuts. But it does. And so why would you want to invite somebody that is a person of color into a world that your world, which is primarily white, where you have not done a lot of education, you haven't built any real meaningful relationships with people of color. That's what you should be doing. That is good, but not in a partnership when there's no one around. That's so weird. Don't do that. I have been, and I'm realizing, recently, in the closer relationships to white folks that I've had, I've mentioned, that I intentionally tried to build some, that I am their first close Black friend, and gradually that gap has become a bit of a chasm, and it's okay. I have all the skills. Like, you should not be in relationships if you're not in a place where you can't bring social justice language into it as the kind of first thing. But those gaps show culturally, rhetorically. We use lotion. This thing unique is that ashy, and you have to wash your legs. People do not bring anyone into a relationship where they have to teach you, right, about their world and their lived experience. It's very painful. You want to be, when you are a person of color, right, just like anybody, you want to be moving through the world and know that that person has your back. Trust and protection are the two most important things in a relationship, right? So you've got to have a very, very committed, desire. You've got to really want to understand intimately what it's like and how that person experiences the world. And that's just true of any relationship, but that it adds another layer, right? That's it. But this is hilarious. He goes, for me, principles lead the way to attractions. I start by eating a food or adopting a habit because it's good for me. And after trying it enough times, I find I really like it for what it is. The same applies to people I'm considering dating. Oh my God, bitches, run. Get away from him. Get away from him. He's nuts. He's nuts. That sounds a little too much like Dahmer to me. Do you know what I mean? Like, no. Also, this is not some smorgasbord for you to come across and we're not a buffet, sir. You know what I mean? You're not just going to get to pick and choose. No, this is a human being, a full human being, a full person. Please grow up a little bit before you start to do your weird millennial colonialism. It's very ox to read about. Hilarious. Like, I'm just like, and these things they don't come with names, but I would definitely DM this person and be like, listen, we have got to talk. This is wild. Anyway. Oh yeah. Okay. I got to keep it moving, but this was hilarious. The response, for the record, was utter trash. I don't know what this was about. Like this person in the response took time out to be like, so you really want to do cross-culture? I'm like, this isn't cross-cultural work. What's wrong with you all? Oh my God. Okay, sorry. He goes, this is like literally how it starts. Your devotion to self-improvement is impressive, like a dish of quinoa and kale that you may have once forced down and now actively enjoy. A woman of color could, you think, raise your game, supplying something like anti-racist roughage. I want to take me out. Take me out. I'm gone. Take me out. And then he like references the word kyriarchy. Oh, I see that it's a coinage by the feminist theologian Elizabeth Fiorenza. Shut up. Everybody shut up. This was bad. All around bad, right? Dungeon. 3 years dungeon. I'll call back to those. 30 years dungeon. No pride. Anyway, the best way to sum this up, because we're going to be doing some comedy things. So the best way to sum this up, it immediately brought something to mind, right? Paul Mooney. I just thought about this Paul Mooney clip that I've got to play for you because he just says it so much better, and also it'll make you laugh. If you don't know who Paul Mooney is, he's one of those Black comedians that was very much unapologetically a Black comedian. Helped inform Dave Chappelle and, Kat and a bunch of other folks. He's incredible, but this is one of my favorite bits, and it immediately jumped into my head when he said this. Oh, that's weird. Oh, the screen share's on the wrong one. Give me a second, you guys. I totally forgot. Here, you can just stare at my little face in this weird little Inception thing. Just got to reverse these, and boom, here we go. Just for you, babies.
Because I'm going to tell you why. I read the white book. Getting away wasn't a chapter, okay? We tricked their ass. We got away. And they ain't going to never be the same. They ain't been happy since. Go back and watch all that old shit. When they owned us, white folks are some happy white people.
He's imitating
Mr.
happiness.
Walsh, and they had to smile.
He's just smiling.
Look at them now. They're so depressed and sad. Niggas got away. Let slavery come back tomorrow. Well, they don't want us in their little areas and all that shit. Ain't that funny? Don't want us in their neighborhood. When they own us, we was in their house. Kind of bullshit is that? Oh, I can't come in the neighborhood, but when you own me, I was warming up your bed. Now there's something wrong with this picture. Shit, when they own us, we had 12 and 14 jobs. Now that we free, I'm so sorry, there's no jobs. Mad because we got away.
Listen, we got away. This is a callback to Get Out, right? A lot of this shit comes from that, comes from comedy and comes from being able to articulate what some of these experiences are. But it's just like, that's it. You're going to trap somebody. Like, this is people, human beings are not a way to advance yourself. Human beings are not a way of saying this says something about me, and again, that's a dynamic that will happen. Like, I'm aware in certain spaces or whatever, or I've been around people who I could tell were like, check out this guy. This is my Black friend over here. But it's like, be normal. Like, just, you got to figure out how to be normal. And that's when you're in communities, you can do that. But this person is definitely talking like he's going to trap somebody up in his home just so that he's not like John and Becky. And my boy, let her go. Leave her alone. Leave her alone.
Let slavery come back in the mall. They'll be on that porch. Welcome home. Get your rest. You got to go to those 12 jobs in the morning. Your room is just like it was. We haven't changed it. But what about the neighborhood? No, your neighborhood's our neighborhood. It is the truth.
It made me laugh because it's the idea, mad because we got away. And I'm like, we did get away. We're never going back. You will never see us again. If you're talking like that, you lunatic. Okay, now. Anywho. This was a good warm-up. But it made me laugh because it immediately made me think about Get Out and getting trapped into these types of dynamics with people. And we've all had some sort of experience with this, right? It doesn't really matter what your body's like and what your race is and whatever, because we've all had some experience where we became profoundly aware that somebody had an ulterior motive for having us in their life. And it sucked. It sucked. Don't be that person. Form real, meaningful connections with people by just doing something, going somewhere. I think it's very healthy to say, I want to create friendships with this community of people, but make it a community. Do you know what I mean? Like, go into that community. you are risking something then too, right? You are going into this place that you don't necessarily know or aren't the most familiar with, and you are embracing that culture. You're learning about that culture. You're becoming part of it, and that's what I love about movement spaces, because they do that. But anyway, we've got to keep it moving. I just thank you for indulging me in that. I'm going to play a clip from Jesse Waters, that bitch from Fox News, right? He's the guy that they got to replace Tucker Carlson, and he says something around the right-wing message box. And remember, we're talking about how to yap. So you're going to see that there's a reason why I'm playing comedy. So there's going to be a couple of clips, but don't worry, we're going to break them down as we go. And I promise you by the end, you'll be laughing. If you haven't already. I hope you have been. Let me play this clip for you because it's very pertinent, very, very pertinent.
It's not really the same. Dana, we are waging a 21st century information warfare campaign against the left, and they are using tactics from the 1990s. They are holding tiny press conferences, tiny little rallies. They're screaming into the ether on MSNBC.
Now, I just want to pause here and say that I think that this is actually commendable. What not establishment Dems, Hakeem Jeffries is an idiot. He's a fucking moron. And you know I can't stand Chuck Schumer. He's like, yeah, we're just going to wait it out. I'm like, no, we're not. How he's going to screw up? Not before we get screwed in the process. But this is called groundswell. This is like, I like the reps. I like what they're doing. People need a place to connect and say, this is messed up. That can be very spiritually corrective. And when you have people who come, it is true in movement times, only a small amount stay, but that's all you ever need, a small committed few that makes all the difference. But what he moves into, this Jesse Waters, he does have enviable eyebrows. I'm a bit spare right now. But what he says from here in is key. So pay attention.
This is what you call top-down command and control. You get your talking points.
Not that part. That was
from
dumb.
a newspaper, and you put it on the broadcast network, and then it disappears. What you're seeing on the right is asymmetrical. It's like grassroots guerrilla warfare. Someone says something on social media, Musk retweets it, Rogan podcasts it, Fox broadcasts it, and by the time it reaches everybody, millions of people have seen it.
What he actually has just described is the disinformation pipeline. That was it right there, right? So when he says he sees something online, Musk retweets it, Rogan picks it up, it gets mass produced. That's actually how disinformation spreads. He's treating it like it's some sort of grassroots movement, but it's actually, he just described the disinformation pipeline. He's just too stupid to realize it.
It's free money. And we're actually talking about expressing information. They are suppressing information.
So one thing that he does have a point on is, how are we spreading information, right? What are the ways that we're spreading information and how? And I think that's an area that we need to do some work on. I think that's something that we're clarifying as time goes on. This is what we should be studying right here. So right before we get into I want to play for you two different types of message boxes, because right now, it's not exactly where it needs to be. And this right here, I'm about to play for you a clip. I'm going to play two clips. One is by economist Richard Wolff, and then I'm going to play one by Carl Sagan. But this one here is a clip that talks about the difference between liberals versus leftists. Let me look at the time. Okay, I got to keep it moving. Liberals versus leftists. Please excuse the very corny music. I tried to find a version of this that didn't have it, and I'm not skilled enough to know how to make it not do that. So just pretend that it's not there, unless you love a very like emo score, which I do, but not against this. Anyway.
In the struggle against slavery in the 19th century.
So remember, this is the difference. He's making a distinction, right, Wolf, between liberals versus leftists.
American slavery. You might divide the people who found slavery awful into two groups. One group was horrified by how slaves were treated, how they were fed, clothed, their families broken up, beaten, all of that. and they devoted themselves to a struggle to improve the condition of the slaves. Better diets, better clothing, keep their families together. And then there was a second group of people.
So I think you're getting a sense of who he was describing in the forefront, right? How do we make this horrible system less offensive to our sensibilities? That was a liberal, right? This is, oh, wow, this disgusting practice. It makes me feel bad. We should just focus on making them more comfortable. Everybody will be happier. Everybody will move better, right?
Who were horrified not only by slavery, but by the first group of those who were.
So now he's moving into the leftists. He's describing people who are horrified by slavery and horrified by this other group.
Opposed it. They looked at their brothers and sisters in that other movement, and they said, you're missing the most powerful and basic moral issue of the time. The problem is not how we treat the slaves. The problem is that there are such a thing as slaves. The further argument they made was, even if you and we struggle to improve the diet, the clothing, the housing, and so on of slaves, as long as they remain slaves, whatever we win can and probably will be taken away by the master in the future, just as it was taken away by the master.
Right? Okay.
In the struggle against.
So yeah, are we together? Like, so we have this
slavery,
thing, right? Ooh, I keep wanting to. I guess I just am obsessed with the man. But we keep doing this thing where we're going back and forth. And the truth is, nobody is as fully politically coherent as we want to be. We live in a system that is full of contradictions. So I wanted to just do some groundwork here so that we are working from the same definitions, because what I'm realizing is there is a dearth of political education. And before I play these next two clips, I want to tell you about this thing that I realized, right? Okay. So, I've been listening. I'm on the news all the time. I'm in the manosphere. I'm in the streaming world. Anything that a Jon Stewart or a John Oliver or a Maddow or a Colbert, the list goes on. They say, I do my due diligence to pay attention to. And Jon Stewart has had a lot of the same criticisms, of course, of the establishment Dems and Democrats that I've had. And he's really taking on establishment Dems. I realized something. So do you remember how I've been struggling, right, with things like social media? And there's been a lack of coherence, I think, in understanding what to do. And a big part of that is because we're in different times. And then it hit me. I have spent the last 4 years, right, like just collecting information where I haven't really been online. I was in this very serious time of incubation because in 2021 and 2022, BLM took major hits, and our leadership, right? And remember, like, this was a hollow movement, and I say our, but I had exited 2017, 2018, the top of 2018, but really 2017, because, that's what happens when your ex runs a movement. You're like, yeah, you're like, I gotta get out of here. And then I went into color of change. But when those attacks came in 2021 and 2022, that were all about, that $90 million raised, and one day, there's episodes where I've really gone into it, but in the interest of time, I won't go into it then. There was twofold. There was a racist attack and then also a failure of leadership, right? It was both. And there wasn't a lot of leadership at that time because the movement had really kind of been over, but again, there's more nuance than I can get into. I'll just say that obviously the racist attack far outweighs the failure of leadership, but because there's so few movements, the failure of leadership had a lot of consequence, right? The person who had positioned herself as leader had been so racially abused that she could no longer perform her duties. And as frustrating as that might be, it's very human. And we didn't have a platform. We did not have a platform to go and set that record straight or have that fight and duke it out in that person's absence. And so here we are, right? So since then, I have been documenting, collecting things, and I talked about this from and even further back, right? From all those movements I've named before, Occupy, Black Lives Matter, Standing Rock, the Women's March, Families Belong Together, Me Too, Stop Asian Hate, No Muslim Ban, all these things. And you notice that these movements get progressively and progressively shorter. So I took all those lessons and, condensed and did all the things and made a plan and hit some hiccups here or there, some big sprints here or there. And here we are. And now I felt very ready to put out those criticisms. And I have been very clear on my criticisms of the left and particularly of the trans community in terms of how it has made the right takes a word from us or a language from us and lobs it back, right? And mostly it's been fun and cheeky, and it's not really just it's not just the trans community. It's the white LGBT community, the white queer community in general, who have traded in cultural wins for systemic ones. And while I believe that's true, I realized that my frustrations are not. They don't have. I was ready. What I want to say, I know I'm still figuring it out, but what the things that I'm saying and the way that I'm saying them were for a Kamala Harris presidency, not a fascistic one, not a Donald Trump Musk one, right? And that's why I've struggled so much with social media, because I forgot my core question of how I show up, which was, what is my best contribution right now? What is my best contribution right now? Right? What is the thing that I can offer? And that's where Sunday Sermon was born out of. And yes, we can poke fun and we can do all this political education work and all these other things. But if I am not creating conditions that make you want to trust me, because I want to be more impish and mischievous and funny and all these things, right? Why should you listen to me? Why should anyone? So you'll be seeing a very normal, old school version. And look, all the fun will still be there, but it made me realize, because Jon Stewart right now, I've listened to him, when he was talking to Jen Psaki and all these other, folks, and he's absolutely right. The Democrats are fucking useless in so many ways. But where do we need to be right now? Right? Do we point to more? Do we keep pointing at the holes and the gaps, or do we start addressing them? And part of how we do that is through political education work and through trust work. Not like the guy from the article about I would like to advance my anti-racism by getting in some woman of color poontang. No. No, this is politics. Anyway, this is me thinking, ooh, do I save the last bit for another episode, or should we just... Okay, I'm going to play these two clips back to back, and then I promise I'll be so succinct, because I don't know, should I still be trying to keep these episodes 30 minutes? I thought it would be respectful of your time. But I love a good yap. Let me know. Maybe I'll ask that question on Instagram or something. But, I finally feel like I'm in this fucking groove, because everything started clicking for me, because I didn't have that anchor, because we don't have an actualized movement now, and we shouldn't, because we are not clear on what the fuck we're fighting for. Literally at a comedy show, it was so funny. A friend of mine who's a comic she's a trans woman, but she was like, I think we've lost the plot a little bit, because on one hand it was healthcare for trans people, and then someone was talking about and fighting for ass play, and it was no, that's a different thing. But even still, I believe that our best bet is not to just fight for healthcare for trans people, to fight for a unified national call to action for a robust healthcare plan, because that is the best way for trans people to have secure healthcare. That means understanding that we lost trans healthcare when we lost abortion rights, because it was always about body autonomy, and we decided that women weren't fucking cool, and that we did betray them is true. But my job is to outline how it happened and how to get back. And I think I've been really annoyed by how far we've strayed, but what is my best contribution right now, right? I get my own little spaces now. I get to be here with you. where we can shoot the shit and play and all these other things, and do that really great political education work. And I get the stage to be impish, but when it comes to that forward-facing work, right? That forward-facing work, what is my best contribution right now? So there are a couple of ways that we can approach this, but I thought, okay, there were some interesting talking points, right? So this is like, I'm literally like, do I end the episode? This is me like, actually, okay, I'm going to play this clip. And this is Francesca Fiorentini. And I quite like her. We're very different in how we presented information, but I like her because she debates. She's on YouTube. She's a journalist. And here, this is a clip of her on Piers Morgan's show, where she's talking about RFK. And on it is Brian Johnson, who is the billionaire who was just recently taking blood transfusions from his 18-year-old son. You know, the guy who like documents every aspect of like, you know, and he's just on that whole like, the whole pharmaceutical industry is da 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 da, and you know. Anyway, here's this clip of her eviscerating them, and it's very satisfying to watch. And there's a couple of points I want to highlight. Oh my god, I'm gonna have to make this so fast. Okay, great. Both clips that I'm gonna play are like about a minute long, but this is how much information you can fit in a minute. She fucking skins them. I love it. Okay, here we go.
He comes from a good place of wanting to make America a healthier place. What's wrong with that?
No, I don't think there's anything wrong with it. I think he is the picture of health himself. I mean, he's a roided up 70-year-old who doesn't believe in germ theory and eats roadkill.
That's a great line. Great start. That is a great start. Truly. Like, peak, right?
I think that is perfect. He sounds like he's speaking into a fan half the time, and he doesn't believe in vaccines. He wants to replace healthcare in this country with Ozempic, and he also wants to limit access to antidepressants and psychiatric meds for all Americans and replace it with things like meditation. If we think we have a mental health care crisis in this country now, just you wait until RFK Jr. is finished with this country. If you think there is some sort of drug epidemic, people are going to be buying Adderall on the black market in insane amount. He also thinks that Jewish people and Chinese people can't get COVID. That was a fun one.
Oh yeah, when he said like black people, you know, didn't need the vaccines, I was like, oh god, I'm gonna have to take him out in the race war for sure. You know.
You should tell that to my uncle. Oh, wait, he's dead. Also, 83.
So this right here, right, and really a few seconds earlier, there comes a turn where we move into this, like, from sarcasm to cynicism, and that's the dangers of it. And I'm not suggesting, like, there's, the, you know, actually just full-on respect, but I'm just talking about the tonality and the rhetoric and the choice, right? And, of course, platform here matters. You're on Piers Morgan's show. But just, it's so quick when sarcasm turns to cynicism so quickly.
Samoans also dead from the anti-vax work that he did in American Samoa, just as there's a measles outbreak in Texas right now because of the kind of lies about vaccines that he has spilled. But honestly, Piers, other than that, truly a picture of health.
He comes from...
Right. So, you know, take a beat, right? Take a beat. Would that have changed your mind? And I'm not suggesting that that's the goal here. I watched it and it was very satisfying because she is speaking the fucking truth to power. Like I feel it, right? This is a guy with fucking worms in his brains who's now going to be leading the championing health in America. It's just golly, right? But I want you to hold on to this, right? Because this is one of the tonalities that we can have. Here's another one, and I swear to God, what time? Oh my God, I'm just yapping so much. This is a really quick clip of Ronnie Chung from his special. It was online, so I hope there's not copyright issues. Oh my God. Okay. He is talking about globalization, right? And why and how we got to be where we are today. This is with humor. So we got sarcasm and cynicism. This is a different kind of sarcasm, right?
MAGA, make America great again. They have a point. America is not doing so great right now, right? Our kids' math scores are down.
This is a callback. This is like a running joke because, you know, he's Malaysian, but he also talks about just being an Asian man and just Asian in general. And it's like, yeah, scores math scores, schoolwork, all that shit, just like on point. He's got great bits on it. He's very funny.
Our children's science scores are down when judged according to international metrics. Healthcare systems not doing so great. Wealth gap disparities increasing exponentially. There was an implied promise to a generation of Americans that if you do certain things, work hard, go to college, be a good person, you would have certain outcomes. And those outcomes didn't materialize for the majority of people because baby boomers entrenched in decision-making positions.
Okay, so right here, that turn, right? What he's done, and this is something I do, and there's no right way, there's no single way. It's that you affirm the experiences of the person. It's called it's a Black Panther approach called unity, struggle, unity. So you've affirmed the person's position, right? You're acknowledging a certain kind of struggle and why people might be drawn to something like MAGA in the first place. And again, different places require different things. So key, but just hear the different ways that we can approach this in terms of our communications, right? So there's the unity part. Here comes the turn, which is what went wrong, right? Because he started with baby boomers entrenched positions.
Lower the capital gains tax so that their net worth essentially compounds year after year. And post-World War II, U.S. leadership traded the domestic manufacturing industry for national security by making the U.S. dollar the default international trade currency, which gave America the ability to impose economic sanctions on foreign countries through a U.S. financial banking system, but consequently increased the value of the U.S. dollar astronomically, which made it impossible for anyone to manufacture anything in America. Although the logic at the time was that Americans were supposed to upskill en masse away from the menial manufacturing jobs. But everyone here's too much of a dumbass to stay in school, so we just traded domestic manufacturing to Asia and the rest of the world at the expense of working class families. But if you don't read enough, it comes out as, let's go, Brandon! And it's like you have a point, but you don't have the vocabulary to describe your reality because you didn't read enough. You gotta keep reading.
Yeah. So, anywho, we're at time. Are we? I don't know. Do we want 30-minute episodes? Do we want 45? Somebody tell me. All right. That's your homework. You tell me. But the reason why I brought these two things up is to understand that there are different ways that we communicate. So we have to decide who we are. We're leftists, obviously, right? But leftists, liberals, whatever. And have very specific campaign goals. But we win the yap wars by understanding the pipeline of disinformation. And now, what are our means of communication, right? So that's number one. And then number two is, what are we communicating? So I wanted to just kind of massage our brains. I hope this was clicking for you the way it is in my head, because sometimes I just I'm like, don't you see it? And it's like, did I do a good enough job breaking it down? But either way, it's always a great place to start with self and say, what is my best contribution right now? Not what is necessarily my instinct, but what is my best contribution right now? And especially if it's with a population or a set of circumstances that is very frustrating to you. Because the truth is, what I'm frustrated with is not necessarily trans folks, right? Although the white sort of push towards these culture wins is very frustrating. Like, oh, let's take out Dave Chappelle. Oh, this person said this. Oh, this person said that. But more to do with the fact that on the left, we are far more comfortable talking about gender than we are race, right? But somehow never women. It's very confusing. Then you have women of color just never discussed, just totally swept under the fucking rug, right? Everybody just has to get behind because this is the cool issue of the moment. And I want to be clear, we are under attack, and I'm going to get into that more this week, and understanding some of it. But it really hit me. I was like, my gripes make sense as they are under a Kamala Harris presidency. So I am pivoting. This is my moment of shift. This is me being accountable to you. Don't get me wrong. I'm still going to talk so much shit, but I haven't done the job that I need to do in promoting this platform and this show because I have been struggling with what to say, and I've never struggled with that before. And it's because I've never made content for the sake of making content, but it's because I forgot myself for a moment. And I so enjoy this place we've created here that I finally get to, move through these long form thoughts with you. But in the meantime, these short form thoughts, right? These clips, these things we're communicating. So we've got to figure out what some of our message boxes are. But those are two very different ways of presenting information. Both are fucking valid. Both are fire. But I think we've got to get clearer about what they are and then the campaigns. But anyway, I'm yapping too much. Okay, I'm going to hit the question tomorrow. I'm going to stop yapping so much. Oh my God. Okay, here we go. Oh, I just missed you guys so much. And I had so many things to say. And this t-shirt I'm wearing is way too small. Okay. I just want to say thank you so much for listening to Dark Woke. It means the world to me. This show really is a labor of love. New episodes drop every day of the week. We're available everywhere podcasts are. Don't forget, if you love the show, please feel free to support as best you can. Our Patreon is on Patreon/DarkWoke. Don't forget, I want to hear from you. Drop your voice note questions to darkwokejfk@gmail.com. Shout out to Carolyn and KR. And shout out to you, the listeners that make it all possible. Love you. Peace.